The today's question is 238. Product of array is respect self. Given an integer array nums, return an array answer such that the array I is equal to the product of all the elements of num except I. So, and the algorithm that runs in of n time complexity and without using the division operation. This is the constraints, and the product of any prefix or suffix of num is guaranteed to a fit in 32 bits of integer. So let's see how to solve this question, and first understand the problem by using an example. Let's understand the problem by using an example. First, they are given an integer array 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So first find the product of the array, and they already explain clear in the question. The nums I do not multiply by itself. So the product of 2 is so the first element 2, its product is for this we find the product, multiply 3 with 4, and then the answer is also multiply with 5, and that answer we will get is also multiply with 6, like 3 4s are 12, 12 5s are uh, 60, and then 60 multiplied with 6, so our answer is 360. We don't have to multiply the element with itself. So for 3 we have to multiply 2 with 4, and 2 4s are 8, 8 4 5s are 40, and then multiply 40 with 60. Two 40. Remember, don't multiply the element with itself. So and we find the product of array except self. In the question I already mentioned product of array except self. So in case of for, we have to multiply the 2 with 3, the answer is 6, then multiply 6 with 5, so 6 5s are 30, and then multiply 30 with 6, the answer is 180. In this way we have to find our answer. So our first answer is 360, and the second answer is 240, and the third answer is 180. In this way we similarly we find the product of 5, so except self multiply, and also we find the product of 6. In for the 6 we don't have to multiply 6 with 6, we only find the product of the remaining elements. So this is the question, and let's see which approach we use to solve this question. So assume that the input array is 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Let's create an array called left array, which hold the products of all the numbers to the left of any given element. Since there is nothing to the left of the first element, we can start the second one. So we can start the second one, there is only to the left of this element is 2, so we'll start just putting the 2 here. And for the next element, the two numbers to the left of it are 3 and 2. And but instead of going back to the input array, we are just going to multiply 3 with the number here that we are just calculated, and you will see why in a second. Multiply 3 with this number, and here we just calculate, you will see in a second. So 3 times 2 is 6, and next we will do the same thing. We will multiply 4 with 6 because 6 is 2 times. So write 6 here, and this is where the efficiency comes in. Instead of going back of doing 2 times 3 again, so we are going to reuse our previous calculation, and we already did it, and so 4 times 6 is 24. So, and lastly we are going to multiply 5 by 24, and because remember 24 is 2 times and 3 times of 4, so this is 120, and we are going finding the products of all the elements to the left of each element. So next we are going to find the product to the right using the same method by but going backward. So next, so again the last element has nothing to its right. So let's start with the second to last element. The only number to the right of this is 6. So 6. And this then we will use the same method as before. 5 times 6 is 30, and finally 3 times is 360. I am going to fill and I am going to fill the blank spaces with first blank spaces with 1, and so 5 times 6 is 30. It's 30, and then 4 times 30 is 120. And 3 times 120 is 360. And the blank spaces will fill with 1, and all we have to do is multiply each element in the left of array with its corresponding element in the right array. Multiply this element with this, and this one this corresponding element. So the answer is 360. And 240, and 180, and 144. This is our output. So we are creating one of these array runs in n of n times. The overall algorithm also runs in of n times. Now before going to code, it turns out that actually doesn't even need to create these two arrays, and we can do all of this only using the output array. And so I will show you how to do in the Python. So let's see the code. So let's understand in the code. So at this time, our array is 1 2 3 4 5 and 6, and the first thing is we will do it to take the length of the array and save it a variable called length. And since we will using this allowed, so length will be 4, variable called length. And next we will create product array, which will contain our final answer, and initialize is to be all ones. And then we will start calculating the product of all the numbers to the left of the element using the exact same method that we discussed earlier. Remember, there is nothing to the left of the element at the index 0, so we will start at index 1. So like we did previously, we are going to multiply one element of nums and product array and write it to the ith index of product to start one time and equal 2, the next 2 times 3 equal 6, and finally 6 times 4 equal to 24. The next step is calculate the product of all the numbers and to the right of each index. But instead of creating a new array, we are just going to store the product as we go in a single variable called right. And we are going to initialize that to the rightmost of the element in nums, which is 5. Then we enter a loop that traverses backward through the array, and let's break this down in a line little bit more. We are we are going to start at index length minus 2, which is 2, because now that there is nothing to the right of the index 3, and in the ending index is minus 1, because remember, when using Python range function, we don't include the ending index, so this loop will traverse backward until it reaches index 0. Lastly, the first step size is minus 1, which means we are going to be in decrement 1. So what we are going to do in this loop is multiplying each element in the product array with the variable right. So right now 5 is the only number to the right of index 2, so we'll do 6 times 5, which is 30, and then we will update the right, and so that it is now a product of the last 2 elements of the nums. So 5 times 4 is 20. Next we will going to do 2 times 20, because 20 is 4 times 5, which is the product of all the numbers to the right index I. So that's gonna be 40, and then we will update the right to be 20 times 3, which is 60, and finally 1 times 60 is 60. Right is updated to be 120, but this doesn't even matter because we are already done. The only thing left to do is to return the product array, and we are done. So finally we will return the product array. And this code is running, its time complexity is big of n.